I think we can all safely say that paralogism might have saved Genshin. Paralogism, I believe, is going to be the link between what old Genshin was and what new Genshin will be moving forward into the 6.0 update, bringing to the forefront lore that mostly only people would have known about if they were lore deep divers, like the Shade of Life and Reindotir, not to mention more information on the Marjavari, so it makes sense that all of us were even more hyped for 5.7, and let's just say the livestream did not disappoint. 5.7, from the new Archon quest, to the new story quest, to Skirk finally dropping, and then the Not Cry teaser trailer, all of it was absolutely amazing. This video will be focusing on what I think the Archon quest and Skirk's story quest are going to hold for us, which means we are going to have to wait for another video to talk more depth into Not Cry. But with all of that being said, let's get into it. The title of the 5.7 Archon quest already reveals a lot about the story we're going to be playing. A space and time for you. Clearly, this involves the Abyss sibling, but I think we're also going to be getting more information on the other two shades of the Primordial One, this being the Shade of Space and the Shade of Time. Now, some suspect that the sustainer of heavenly principles, the person who attacked and separated us at the beginning of Genshin, is the Shade of Space, and if this is the case, then it would have been the first shade we actually met in-game, though it's possible that instead the Sustainer is the second Descender to arrive in Teyvat, and that the Shade of Space is someone else entirely. Either way, I do think we're going to be meeting the Shade of Space, at least somewhat. Maybe it's in a flashback, or maybe we're going to get more information on the Shade of Space in the present. Either way, someone I know we're going to be getting more information on is the Shade of Time, and we're a bit more familiar with her. Or if you are a lore deep diver up to this point, you are. I even have a few videos on her on this channel. The Shade of Time is Istaroth, and though you can find reference and influence of hers in every nation of Teyvat, the places she's most felt were in Konamiya, Inazuma, and Mondstadt. I won't go too much in depth about her escapades and whatnot in this video, so check out my other ones if you want more theories and history about her, but I think it's going to be pretty safe to say that at the very least we're going to learn more about her in this patch if we don't outright meet her, or perhaps even meet the Shade of Space, though I think it's more likely we would meet the Shade of Time. I say this because the Genshin devs have stated that they are reworking Genshin's story, and especially 6.0 onwards is going to have a very different story structure to what we've been used to. I think starting from patch 5.6 we began to see this shift. The devs are pulling elements that are important to the lore that have otherwise been kept in the background to the forefront, and I believe 5.7 will continue this trend. In the Not One Archon quest, we got to meet Renova, and in the 5.6 Archon quest, we got more information on the Shade of Life, or Renova's opposite. Apparently, Reindotir and the Shade of Life have more or less fused together, Reindotir having consumed their heart, or something like that. What this will mean for us is a bit up for debate, but it doesn't seem as if Albedo has any real reservations about his creator, so perhaps that's a sign that Reindotir might not be as evil as we think. And then it also means that, by extension, the sinners of Conria might not be as reviled by the Shades as one might think. Speaking of the sinners of Conria, let's talk about Surtalogi, Skirk's master, and owner of that bitch-ass narwhal we had to fight in Fontaine. Outside of being a terrible pet owner, what we know about Surtalogi directly is close to none. We do know that Surtalogi sent Skirk on a mission to find the Voyager, and while I could go into more depth on the Voyager, I'm gonna likely leave that for another video. Perhaps a video that'll talk about all the new connections Genshin and Honkai Star Rail have, but the important thing to note is that this Voyager is the one that caused the Seelies' downfall, inadvertently, which caused them to lose their minds and forms. This is because the Voyager and a Seelie fell in love. The Voyager and that Seelie's memories were wiped, but this union was observed by the Three Moon Sisters. Again, this gives us important timeline information that will be discussed in another video. For our purposes here though, I would assume that we will meet Skirk as she travels to find the Voyager. As a brief aside here, because I'll talk about it in a different video, I believe Skirk has some interesting parallels with March 7th from Honkai Star Rail, and perhaps could even be this Voyager that she's looking for. But again, theories for another video, so just put a pin in that for now. Finally, I believe the Voyager and her voice, I believe the voice the trailer refers to is likely the angel who fell in love with the Voyager will be delved more deeply into during Skirk's story quest versus the actual Archon quest itself. So, now that we've spoken at length about Skirk and Surtalogi, let's touch on our sibling and Dain. Paimon makes mention that we're going back to our spaceship, the one that we as the Traveler came to in Teyvat. If we look back to the opening of Genshin, we see two shooting star-like objects in the sky, which I believe implies that there were actually two spaceships, one that belonged to our sibling and the other that belonged to us. I think we'll be getting a bit more background on the Traveler as a character, and by extension, a bit more information about the cosmos beyond Teyvat's fake sky. This is important information that will help ease us into Nodcry, where we know the fake sky will be an important plot device. But also, I believe this is where Genshin is going to begin connecting to the larger Honkai-verse as a whole. Now, I doubt we're going to get any concrete information about specifics, 1 on where the Travelers are from, or 2 on what definitely lies beyond the sky, but this will be information that is going to be new to us and more than we've gotten in quite some time. Additionally, as a brief aside, I don't think we're going to actually see the whole spaceship. Instead, I believe we're going to need some part of the spaceship for the story. Furthermore, the Loom of Fate plan is said to have been completed, and our sibling seems to want to return to the past to join us on our journey. We know from Wanderer that the past is not so easily rewritten, and if we recall from Sumeru, it appears our sibling might have intertwined themselves with the fate of Teyvat. If this is the case, then the consequences of our sibling attempting to go back in time could be dire. This is where I think we're likely to get more information on Istaroth, perhaps even an appearance. And it's also possible that the Abyss Order is intending to go back in time to attempt and stop the cataclysm from occurring at all, thus altering the very nature of Teyvat. If this is the case, we might see Dainslief having to make a choice. Should he allow the Abyss Order to destroy this present in an effort to save his homeland? Is it even possible to save Conria in this way? We also see an NPC with the Traveler very briefly during the trailer, and I think it's possible that this could actually be someone from the past brought to the present, perhaps as an experiment to see if this is something that can even work. I think it's also important to remember that the Abyss Order acts somewhat separately from the Abyss. The Abyss Order has an interest in Conria, and though they might command abyssal forces, as we've seen time and time again, the Abyss itself appears to simply be a force of corruption in Teyvat. The only goal of the Abyss seems to be consumption of the world around us. If the Abyss Order is instead attempting to save Conria, then we have an interesting opportunity to see them in a new light. It could then be possible to say that Surtalogi might actually even be on the side of the Abyss Order, and perhaps that's why we have Dain interacting with the Sinner in the first place. Though it should be pointed out that if Surtalogi wanted to save Conria, then the Sinner could have done so 500 years ago. This is part of what made him a Sinner after all, refusing to use his power to save Conria. Additionally, one final note here. Surtalogi is the sword used by Surtur during Ragnarok to destroy Asgard in Nordic mythology. I don't think it's any coincidence that Surtalogi has the name of an apocalyptic weapon. So now, assuming that my theories are correct and that the Abyss sibling is going back in time to either try and escape with us or try to stop the cataclysm, we're left with a question. Has all of this happened before? Amphorius, for example, in Honkai Star Rail has been revealed to be a world stuck in cycles or time loops. One might wonder if the same is true for Teyvat on a smaller scale. Did the Abyss sibling always go back? By that I mean our attempted escape at the beginning of the game, was that truly our sibling from that time, or was it always our sibling from the future attempting to rewrite the past? Or, perhaps, if it was always meant to be, then is this the Abyss sibling setting into motion everything we've experienced so far in Genshin? The fate that Dainslief is fighting against, the fate that we are attempting to change, is it, in fact, the idea of traveling back to save Conria, or is it us attempting to stop the action that will set it all in motion to begin with? And there you have it, my theories on what we're going to be experiencing in 5.7. I'll do a Nodcry breakdown video pretty soon too, as I think the newest teaser about the upcoming region has a lot to share as well. But for now, if you liked this video, then like, subscribe, and most importantly, comment so I don't feel like I'm screaming into the void. And, as always, may the wind bless your travels.